Hello and welcome to a short overview of SelectHub. Let's start with a high-level picture of the problem SelectHub tries to solve. Number one, software selection is problematic. It's often we talk about it, often we hear about this, but let's try to understand why. Let's look at an example and say your marketing team would like to have a new BI software solution. When you think about a BI solution or any kind of software for that matter in the enterprise, there is often a process that you are supposed to follow. And that process kind of looks like this. You have to start with requirements gathering. Then you go into vendor research, shortlisting. You may have to do an RFI or an RFP. You may have to look at demos and start putting comparisons together of product A versus product B, and so on. What makes this challenging is not necessarily the process or the steps, but when it comes to, say, gathering requirements, as an example, there are different stakeholders involved in the selection project, the actual end users. You may have your IT department, you may have sourcing, finance, procurement, and so on. And as soon as you put in all these stakeholders into the mix, you start to find it rather challenging to get everybody's requirements, everybody's priorities to come together in a way that everybody's on the same page. Often end users or even the IT department are unsure about where to even start in terms of requirements gathering. And once the requirements are there, being able to take those requirements and trying to compare product A versus product B tends to be time consuming and complex. The reason for that is if you look at the number of products and vendors that are often out there for any popular software category, in this example BI, you often see that there are so many horizontals, so many verticals of products and vendors, and they are all claiming to do different things. Some of it may make sense, some of it may not make sense. Sometimes you look at analyst reports and sometimes you look at peer reviews and so on, but you're still unsure about, given your set of requirements, your company's unique needs, how do these products and vendors come together? How do they rank against each other? And which of these are the top two or the top three products that are really worth your time? So that's the problem that SelectHub tries to solve. The end result of this convoluted process is error-prone decisions and tremendous delays and frustration. But the way SelectHub tries to solve this problem is we have a software platform that we have created specifically to help you go through this process in a very data-driven, very transparent, and a very agile manner, and it helps you make those decisions in a fraction of the time it would normally take. The way our solution helps is we have put together a very prescriptive workflow and layered it with a lot of the best practice requirements that many of the peers, your peers in the community tend to look at when they go through a similar software selection process, whether it's for BI, CRM, ERP, or any other popular software. You can press a button and look at the top common requirements that one tends to see in your market, in your industry, in your company size, and so on. Number two, we have also put together a set of leaderboards or vendor scorecards that will help you analyze, given those specific requirements that you care about, which are the products or vendors that are useful for you to speak with, get to know about, and see how well they truly meet your requirements. Now, as part of this workflow, you could use SelectHub to just do the requirements gathering and the vendor shortlisting. You can also take it forward and go towards setting up demos, building use cases for the demos, creating vendor scorecards, doing an RFI or an RFP, or even a proof of concept, all the way to a contract. In this brief demo, I'll show you exactly how some of these offerings come together. So here I am inside SelectHub. And here you can see a dashboard which shows a lot of the projects that I have access to. And when I go into a sample project, I get to see a snapshot of how many requirements I have in my project, how many products or vendors my team and I have shortlisted, my CapEx budget, my OpEx, how many scorecards my team has built, and so on. All of these details are right here. The first thing I'm going to do is, when I start up a project, I can invite as many stakeholders as I would like, or I can choose to go it alone. So here I can invite other team members in my company, my marketing team, my finance team, my procurement team, my IT team, whoever I would like to have. And together we can start gathering requirements. I talked about requirements templates. So SelectHub offers requirements from our library, our best practices library, based on peer activity within the platform. So we are able to provide you with a template that you can download. And once you have downloaded the requirements into your project, you can go through it. And typically the requirements template is available based on the category of software that you are evaluating. In this example, I'm showing a CRM requirements template. The requirements template is broken down into different sections, and you can start looking at it, you can start editing it, and you can start, as you start editing it, you can also put in your priority. Do you see this as a low priority? Do you see this as a high priority? And so on. And you can also see how other stakeholders in the team view these priorities. What's the level of priority they have given each of these requirements? When I have these requirements all compiled, I can go into the next step, which is go into SelectHub's product directory, and I can look at the category that is of interest to me. So in this example, I'm looking at CRM software, customer relationship management. So when I click on it, it brings me to the product directory for that specific category. And I can see I have over 200 products here. Now, there is also a generic leaderboard, which shows you a list of the top 15, 20 requirements and the list of top 10 vendors that measure how well do they measure against those requirements. So I can see the requirements on the left side. And on the right side, I can see the list of products and vendors. I can expand it, and I can include comments from the SelectHub team. So you can see how various products and vendors have been rated and ranked. So accordingly, I can then say, look, these are the ones that are relevant for me. These are the ones that are not. And the ones that are relevant for me, I can shortlist and add to my project. Once I have these products and vendors shortlisted, I can do a number of different things. Number one, I can get through a set of demos and proof of concept. I can request each participating vendors to show me a demo of their product based on certain use cases and success criteria that I define within the POC module. I can do an RFI or an RFP in my RFX module. I can also create generic scorecards based on how well the demos work out, how well the RFIs and RFPs work out. I can create a final scorecard. And as I look at all of these things, I'll give you an example here. Within the requirements module, I can put in all the requirements, my requirements. I can edit and customize the requirements, and I can create these scorecard. And that's ultimately the final destination. I can take this project, I can go through all of these steps that I talked about, but the end goal is to create this scorecard specifically for my requirements, such that my team and I can kind of see who are the vendors we spoke with, who are the vendors that gave us demos, how well were the demos received, how well the demos met our use cases. And based on all of that, we give a score, a rating to each of the vendors based on our specific requirements. And once the scoring is done, once the rating is done, I can export this scorecard, I can share it with different stakeholders in my company. And that's in a nutshell what the SelectHub value proposition is. So real quick, there are different offerings. SelectHub helps you go from this kind of jumbled mess of products and vendors to a scorecard like this. And the way we can take you there, we have several different offerings that we can share with you. So for example, we have a free service where we can make some product recommendations. We also have a single project access where you can It's in DIY mode, do-it-yourself mode, and you can get access to a single project within SelectHub to all the modules and run through that entire project, that entire workflow that I talked about through the whole selection process within SelectHub. And there are also some guided packages where you can get an express scorecard based on your requirements. We also have a custom scorecard for any technology category where we would do an RFI behind the scenes, a request for information behind the scenes with the vendors of your choosing. And based on your requirements, the vendors respond back, how well they meet those requirements, and the final scorecard is created. We also have an RFP package where you can run an RFP with SelectHub support, or a proof of concept or a guided demo package where you can define use cases and have different vendors provide you with a demo against those exact same use cases so you and your stakeholders can score and rate them. So there are different ways to use the SelectHub platform on a single project basis or a single RFI, RFP scorecard basis. And there are also some subscription options. One is Requirements Hub, which gives you access just to the requirements module, or you can also subscribe to SelectHub, where we have multiple options available for you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and look forward to answering your questions soon.